Okay, let's talk about something no homeowner ever wants to deal with. A burst pipe, a leaking roof, you name it. Suddenly, there's water everywhere, and it's one of the most stressful feelings in the world. You just have no idea where to even start. So today, we're going to break down exactly what happens and what needs to happen. We're creating a simple roadmap for what is, without a doubt, an incredibly chaotic and critical 72 hours. So picture it, your home is flooding. That sound of spreading water, it's terrifying. And right then, a clock starts ticking. What you do and what the pros do over the next 3 days, well, that's going to decide if this is just a big inconvenience or a total nightmare. All right, let's dive right in. We're talking about the moment disaster strikes. Those first few minutes, they are all on you. And believe me, what you do right then can make a huge difference in how bad this all gets. Okay, first things first, and this is non-negotiable, safety. If you can get to it without wading through deep water, shut off the main water valve. Stop the source. Then, and this is just as important, get to your breaker box and kill the power to all the wet areas. Water and electricity? No thanks. Now, while you're waiting, start your own rescue mission. Move valuables, photos, laptops, whatever you can to a dry area. Oh, and grab your phone, pull it out and start recording. Take pictures, take videos of everything. This is going to be gold for your insurance company. Then, and only then, make the call for backup. All right, you've made the call. Help is on the way. So, what happens next? What do the pros actually do when they hit the ground running? In this situation, speed isn't just important, it's everything. The target for a certified crew, and what you should honestly expect, is for them to be at your door in 60 minutes or less. Why so fast? Well, think about it. Every single minute that water just sits there, it's creeping deeper and deeper into your walls, your floors, causing more damage, and, you guessed it, kicking off the countdown to mold. Okay, so when the crew shows up, you might think they're going to jump right in and start sucking up water. But nope, the very first thing they do, it's all about safety. They're doing a full sweep, looking for those hidden dangers. Is there a risk of electrocution? Is the ceiling about to come down? And really importantly, what kind of water are we even dealing with? Job one is to make the area safe for everyone. Once it's safe to work, then comes the heavy artillery. And I'm not talking about the little shop vac you have in your garage. We're talking massive, truck-mounted extractors. These things are absolute beasts, capable of pulling thousands of gallons of standing water out of your house every single hour. It's a sight to see. You'd think water is just water, right? Wrong. Where that water came from changes everything. The pros have a system. Category 1 is clean water, like from a burst pipe. No big deal. But then you get to Category 3, black water. Think sewage backup or floodwater. That stuff is seriously nasty, full of contaminants, and it means the crew needs full-on hazmat-style gear. The category of water literally dictates the entire game plan. Okay, so the puddles are gone. Phew, right? Well, not so fast. Getting rid of the visible water? That's just round one. The real fight, the main event, is against the moisture that's hiding, the water you can't see. And this, my friends, is where we get into the actual science of all this. The pros call it structural drying. And let's be clear, this is way more than just setting up a few fans and calling it a day. It's a super precise, scientific method for literally yanking trapped water out from deep inside your drywall, your wood studs, your subfloors. Yeah, check this out. It really shows you what we're up against. The puddles and wet carpets, that's the easy part to see. But the real enemy is the hidden stuff. The moisture that's soaked into the wood, the dampness hiding in your insulation. That's the stuff that leads to rot, structural damage, and of course, mold. So how do they do it? It boils down to a cool science called psychrometrics. I know, fancy word, but the concept is actually pretty simple. Imagine the pros using a whole bunch of giant dehumidifiers and high-speed air movers to create super dry air inside your house. This air is incredibly thirsty. It literally pulls the moisture right out of the walls and floors, which then gets captured by the dehumidifiers. They're basically creating a mini desert inside your home to force it to dry out. But how do they know for sure it's working? They're not just guessing. They have some seriously cool tech. They use thermal cameras, like in the movies, to see the cold signatures of hidden water. And they use these moisture meters with probes to get exact readings from inside the walls. This way, they know when something is truly dry, not just feeling dry on the surface. Now, this part is super important to remember. You can't rush this. Real professional drying isn't a one-day job. It's a process. It typically takes anywhere from 3 to 5 days. The crew will be back every single day, taking readings, checking their work, and tweaking the equipment setup to make sure it's drying as efficiently as possible. Okay, so after a few days, the meters are reading dry. The science part is done. The emergency is officially over. But the house doesn't look like your house yet. Now we move into the final phase, the rebuild, getting it from a dry shell back to a home. There are really two big phases to the whole thing. The first part is called mitigation. That's the emergency stuff, stopping the damage, getting the water out, drying the structure. You can think of it like first aid, stopping the bleeding. The second part is restoration, and that's the rebuild. That's the part where they repair and replace things to get your home back to its pre-damaged condition. It's like the healing process. And this part is usually a little more what you'd expect. Anything that's too damaged to be saved, like soggy drywall or buckled floors, gets ripped out. Then the new stuff goes in. New drywall, new flooring, maybe some insulation. They'll paint, they'll match textures, they'll do all the finishing touches. And the very last step? A final walkthrough with you to make sure every single detail is right and you're happy with the work. So we've talked about speed a lot, right? But I want to circle back to it one last time because there's one giant, ugly reason why every second is critical. And that reason is mold. When you have water damage, you are in a flat-out race against the clock to prevent a mold explosion. And here is the number you have to burn into your brain. 48 hours. That's it. That's your window. See, mold spores are literally everywhere, all the time, just floating around waiting. Once they find a nice, damp surface, like your wet drywall, you have about 48 hours before they wake up, set up shop, and start to grow. This timeline really paints a picture. At hour 0, the water hits. By 24 hours in, those dormant spores are starting to wake up. And by the time you hit that 48-hour mark, you can actually start to see mold growth beginning to form. And once it's visible, it's already spreading, which kicks off a whole cycle that's so much harder to deal with. And let me tell you, waiting past that window gets expensive, fast. We're not just talking about your walls rotting. We're talking about serious potential health risks from breathing in all those spores. Plus, and this is a big one, your insurance company might even deny your claim, saying the secondary mold damage happened because you waited too long. Trust me, the cost of acting fast is nothing compared to the cost of delay. So that brings us to the big takeaway here. A flood, a burst pipe, it happens in a flash. The science to fix it is pretty complex, but the timeline, it's brutally simple. You now know what has to happen in those first 72 hours, and that's a huge advantage. But the real question you have to ask yourself tonight is this. Before disaster strikes, is your home and or you actually ready for it?